made their sacrifice now. Tell me what you think about equal rights for all, everywhere. Say what you think, what you think, what you think, what you think about justice. What you know, what you know, what you know, what you know about love. Why all the segregation, all are but one nation. Oh, let us unite as one. Let us unite as one. Tell me what you know about love. Tell me what you know about hate that keeps us separated. Tell me what you think about equal rights for all in every way. Say what you think, what you think, what you think, what you think about justice. What you know, what you know, what you know, what you know about love. Why all the segregation? We all are but one nation. Oh, let us unite as one. Let us unite as one. Oh, love. So many can testify. Love, oh, love. But you still can't satisfy. You keep on praying. You wish that day would come when there'll be equal rights and justice for every man. Say what you think, what you think, what you think, what you think about justice. What you know, what you know, what you know, what you know about love. Why all the segregation? We all are but one nation. Oh, let us unite as one. Let us unite. What you think, what you think, what you think, what you think about justice. What you know, what you know, what you know, what you know about love. Why all the segregation? All are but one nation. Oh, let us unite as one. Let us unite as one. Tell me what you think about justice, brother man. Oh, tell me what you know about love. Why all the segregation? We all are but one nation, child, child. Let us
In case you don't know us, you're just twisting the dial away and managed to bump into us. This is ZIZ Radio from Adam St. Kitts.
I know we can make it. It's only just a phase. Once we're vaccinated, and everybody gon' be safe. Everybody gon' be one safe. One people. We are roll up to roll up. Cause no man's alone. Do what's right. Cause I love you. And we're in this together. My sister, my brother. I don't wanna lose you. I love you too much. I think it's better for us, yeah, yeah. It's better for us, yeah. I don't wanna lose you. I love you too much, yeah, yeah. It's better for us. Tell your mommy to let it roll out.
Bless up, Dejo here, and I'm doing my part in the fight against COVID-19 by following all safety protocols and most importantly, rolling up my sleeve for the vaccine. So I'm encouraging you to do the same because that's our best shot of protecting ourselves, our family, and our friends. So don't wait, vaccinate. Let's roll up to roll out.
At ZIZ, we want to take a moment to salute our small business owners and encourage you to support them. Our small business owners are always hard at work providing quality goods and services to you. They also provide employment for many and can be counted on to give back to our communities. Today and every day, we salute our small business owners and we say thank you for the opportunity to provide advertising services to you. If you're a small business, call us at 465-2621 to join our family of small business advertisers. Call us 465-2621. You'll be glad you did.
There's nothing good about jail. I don't want to be here.
My father told me that as far as he was concerned, I could stay in the home forever.
Our children deserve a chance for change. Children make mistakes, and child justice reform can help everyone to address these mistakes appropriately. Instead of sending a child to adult prison, let us give them alternative sentencing. We must divert our children from the court system through a holistic and systematic approach to addressing their offense and their road to rehabilitation. Rehabilitation helps child offenders to grow, change, learn from mistakes, accept responsibility, and make better choices. Reintegration of child offenders into the community after rehabilitation benefits the child, the family, and the community with a more productive citizen. Join the movement to give our children a chance for change. This message is brought to you by the USAID OECS Juvenile Justice Reform Project 2, funded by the United States Agency for International Development. For more information, log on to oecs.org/JJRP.
Tell me what you think about Marcus. Tell me
20 minutes moving away from the hour of 9 o'clock. Time for us to get into our featured program this morning. It's called Policing With You. Coming to you, compliments National Bank.
Stop standing in long ATM lines to withdraw cash. Use your national debit or black cards to complete a wide variety of transactions at supermarkets, variety stores, gas stations, pharmacies, and more. Shop online at the most popular websites and stores for quality brands using your national debit or black cards. And take back your time to enjoy all the things that you love to do. Remember, instead of waiting in long ATM lines to withdraw cash, use your national bank cards today.
National Bank, always here.
22 minutes moving away from the hour. Let me say good morning to our guest in the studio. Normally I would introduce one as the host, but they're here so often. I think they can both be considered partners as hosts. Yeah, I do think so. So good morning to you, Superintendents.
Good morning.
Superintendents
Good morning, sir.
Henry and Superintendent Francis. Over to you, gentlemen. What's on the agenda for this morning?
Okay, good morning to the listening public. Good morning to everyone. We're here again with another featured program of Policing With You. I'm here with Superintendent Henry. In light of the announcement last night at the NEOC, and we're here to, the superintendent is here to give some enlightenment as to certain things going forward with the long holiday that is coming. So, welcome, Superintendent.
Thanks for having me, Superintendent.
Yes. Yes, sir. We're going to jump straight into it because the listeners would know that at halftime they're allowed to call, but we're going to have some question and answer segment to give some clarification to certain things that took place, and then they would be allowed to call in and ask whatever question necessary. So, Superintendent, yesterday at the emergency COVID-19 press briefing, which was hosted by the NEOC, you announced that all events were cancelled with immediate effect until further notice. Some persons asked why permission had been given for events up to the day before that announcement, which would have been Tuesday, May the 18th, when it was known that they would be cancelled. Can you clarify the timelines for the general public to clear up any discrepancy that persons might have?
Well, thank you for that question, and it is important that we clear up some of the misconceptions that are out there, and there are quite a number. And today we would attempt to clear up some.
Yes, sir.
First of all, with respect to the timelines, the National Task Force was called into an emergency meeting yesterday, and it was then that we were informed. We had this meeting about 4 o'clock.
Okay.
4 o'clock yesterday, 3:30, 4 o'clock, thereabout. So that is when we were made aware of the situation, and that was shortly after the results of the tests of that person would have come back. So there was no knowledge of this on Tuesday. So any events that were approved on Tuesday, it was without knowledge of what would have happened on Wednesday. So we would not have knowingly give permission for an event on one day, knowing that it would be taken back the following day. So
it was not malicious.
It was not malicious at all. We were made aware on Wednesday afternoon, and within hours we made a decision to cancel the events. So it was a discussion we had. As I said, we had an emergency meeting of the task force, and everything was vented, and the final decision was made. So that decision was made yesterday afternoon, and it was announced to the public immediately.
Thank you very much, sir. In light of that decision, the question is now, why was it important to cancel all those events?
The COVID-19 Act requires persons to make application and have events approved prior to hosting their events. And this is for the simple reason. We know the virus is spread through contact. A person who is infected come into contact with other persons who are not infected, and the virus is passed on to that uninfected person. And that person now becomes infected, and he passes it on to the next person whom he comes in contact with. So the virus spreads through crowds, and so crowd facilitate the spread. The events that we speak of are events that brings crowd together. A party,
a social event.
A social event. Just the very nature. People come together, people socialize, people not thinking about disease. They're thinking about relieving their stress, talking about their problems, having fun, laughing, shouting. And these are the things that promote the spread of the virus. And so the medical professionals have advised that the further apart we keep people, a minimum of 6 feet, the better it is. And it reduces the spread of the virus. And so all these events that were approved were events that brings people together. Remember, the law requires that events that have more than 25 persons would require permission. So it means then that all these events would have had more than 25 persons. And we had well over 100 events that were already in the system.
100?
Well over 100.
Wow.
And most of them would have already been approved.
Wow.
So, and all of them would have been over 25 persons. So we see how many persons we would have had coming together over the short space of a couple of days. Most of these were between Friday and Monday. The biggest bulk of that 100 and odd was between Friday and Monday. And so you would have that large number of persons coming together at various locations, and this would promote the spread of the virus. Given what we are dealing with, and I would say we are not sure yet the extent of what we are dealing with, the CMO would have announced that the contact tracing exercise has begun. The Ministry of Health is engaged in a very detailed and comprehensive exercise to determine all the persons whom that positive individual would have come into contact with, and the persons who those contacts would have come into contact with, and the contact of the contacts. And so
the contact tracing.
That's the whole thing. The contact of the contact of the contact. And so there's a whole chain reaction. What is also frightening is that we know that this person used public transportation.
Okay.
And we see the type of conditions in a 14-seater bus. Everybody is sitting shoulder to shoulder. 14 people sitting shoulder to shoulder, laughing and talking and making jokes. What did not used to happen is the wearing of masks. It's just this week I had a complaint from a lady who told me that her vehicle broke down, and so she was forced to use public transport. And she was horrified about what goes on in these buses. Nobody's wearing masks.
I hope she was wearing her
Well,
mask.
she wore hers, and she looked strange in the bus. She felt strange. And when she talked, she got cursed. So she just keep quiet. I told her, well, just make sure that you wear your mask. So we see people are not following the protocols, and so they would have likely been exposed. And so those persons again would have come into contact with other persons at their workplace who had not gone on the bus. So that is what we are dealing with. And so we have now, the ministry now has to determine what damage was done, what harm was done, was there any other spread. And until we could determine that, we have to keep persons separated as much as we can. It's not totally possible, except in a total lockdown, but as much as we can. And the COVID-19 protocols, as prescribed in the COVID-19 Act, make provisions for how people could keep their distance and keep themselves safe. Because that's the name of the Act, the COVID-19 Prevention and Control Act. So the protocols within that Act are intended to prevent the spread. And so if we just follow those protocols now, then we should be safe. Until we determine the extent, then we will take the next step.
Yes, sir. And we want to minimize community spread.
Right. We want to minimize any community spread that may have resulted from that positive case.
Just like any other investigation, the National COVID-19 Task Force is trying to get the answers to certain questions with the last confirmed case. What do people need to understand about that process?
Well, the first thing, it takes time. And secondly, it requires you being honest if you are questioned by any of the health officials. You may not be comfortable telling them where you went last night or who you were with, but you have to be honest. Because if you would have come into contact with a person who is suspected, then they would need to know who you came in contact with. When you reveal that person, it might be embarrassing, it might cause some problems, but you still need to be honest. These are health professionals, and they would know how to keep whatever you reveal confidential to minimize whatever your concern, or eliminate whatever your concern is. So one of the important things is to cooperate. That's what we want. We want full cooperation from the public whenever you are questioned by the health officials about your contacts, whether you're comfortable with it or not. It's going to be confidential, and they're going to work in the best interest of everybody. The intention is not to find out who you came in contact with for any malicious purpose. It is all a public health exercise.
Thank you very much. So we want to employ the general public to be honest when they're approached by these individuals, because it's for our own benefit. This weekend is what we refer to as holiday weekend or bank holiday weekend, long weekend. With the exception of last year, it is usually a time when there are church outings, family gathering, beach parties. We know that people have been longing to get back to the way things were. However, we are not yet at that stage. Having said that, what do we need people to understand about going to the beach and having public gathering at this time?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, gatherings, public gatherings in particular, promotes the spread of the virus, especially where protocols within that gathering are not followed. If you're not wearing masks, if you are not social distancing, you're not sanitizing, that is a recipe for spread. And so the beach is an attraction for people. The current act prohibits the use of the beach for parties and picnics, where you have that type of social interaction in groups outside your immediate family. However, the act allows the use of the beach for swimming and for exercises. And for family gatherings, if you have a large family, in fact, he specified the numbers, more than 8 persons, members of a family, should congregate together. So if you have a large family of 8 persons, that you could go to the beach as a group and stay within that group. You should not really have persons outside your family joining you if you're going to be congregating together. So any congregation must be families who live in the same family circle, not one family live in Sandy Point and one live in Bastia and one live in Old Road, and you all come together on the beach. It is intended that the families who are living together, they share the same risk.
Immediate family.
Immediate family. Even if you're not immediate, once you live together, you share the same risk, then you could go to the beach, because there's no difference being together at home and being together at the beach. So if you're living in the same household, then you could go to the beach as a household, and you could congregate on the beach and have your relaxation on the beach. For swimming, for exercise, of course you could walk with your food, but it must be in a family grouping. The large crowds where you have people from all over just get together and walk with some drinks and have a big party on the beach.
And the music.
And the music. That is prohibited. What we're seeing lately is people have these hi-fi systems in their vehicles. These are no longer car stereos. These are hi-fi systems.
But that's true when you hear them.
They actually put the speakers on the roof in some cases. And you think it's Ronnie Rascal. So those are not permitted. You cannot pull up on the beach and put your speakers on your roof and pull out a table with some drinks and everybody's had to have fun. That is restricted. You could go to the beach, have a relaxing day with your family, swim, play football on the beach, that sort of thing, but you cannot have any social activity that would bring persons outside your family's circle together in a way that promote the spread of the virus.
And we
Remember, we do not know the extent of any harm that may be done by this person who was tested positive, and so we expect that persons would, in their own health interests, to take every precaution and avoid crowds, especially now until we get the handle of what's happening.
And Superintendent, we are admonishing persons to follow the guidelines given here today, because the police will be out in their numbers to ensure that these restrictions are in place.
Right, of course. The police and the compliance team, they would be extra vigilant now in ensuring that persons really comply with the protocols, wearing the mask in public, sanitization, social distancing. If you go to an establishment and there's a line, keep your 6 feet from the person who is ahead of you in the line. And if the person behind you is too close, just ask him to step back a bit, because we don't really want too much contact. Ensure that you wear your mask while you wait. Ensure that you sanitize before you go in the establishment, and really follow the protocols once you're inside.
2 more questions before we take a break. Someone asked me about church. With this long weekend and Sunday, will church be cancelled?
Well, of course not. We don't want to stop the persons from their religious practice, but the COVID regulation sets out guidelines for churches and religious institutions. It sets out what the protocol should be. You should have the social distancing. You should not have your benches with persons sitting shoulder to shoulder. There must be at least 6 feet between the persons in the benches. Right? So the church must not be full to its capacity. The social distancing of 30 square feet per person should be applied. Should have your persons at the door to sanitize members as they come in, and persons should be wearing their masks at all times, even when you're singing.
Thank you.
Yes.
One last question. We have been going through this pandemic for over a year now. What restrictions are still in place that you would like to let the general public know?
Well, all the restrictions are still in place. From day one, all the restrictions that we encouraged, that we promoted, again, they were codified into law. And so everything is in place. The social distancing, the physical distancing, the hand sanitizing, wearing of masks, all that is still in place. And these are the basic restrictions. They're still in place. They're called the non-pharmaceutical measures that prevents the spread. Of course, we now have a pharmaceutical measure, that is the vaccine, that we are that we are promoting. We are encouraging persons to take. That is not legislated like the non-pharmaceutical measures. And so we continue to encourage persons to add that as one of your prevention measures. Take the vaccine because it has been proven to be effective against illness. If you happen to be infected, it prevents you from becoming ill, and it prevents death.
Okay, thank you very much, DQ. I see the lines are busy. Can we take a word from our sponsor and come back?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Hold on, stop. Think about the drink before you take a drop. Read up on the label on the back. They say science, sugar, low and fat. But don't be fooled by that. Drink some water, share some love. Tell your body you're sweet enough. Drink some water, share some love. Tell somebody you're sweet enough. Drink some water, share some love. Tell your body you're sweet enough. Drink some water, share some love. Tell somebody, yeah.
This message is brought to you by Lake Health and Wellbeing.
Celebrating 40 years of vast economic and human resource development, the DBSKN invites you to BizFest. It's our annual business fair. Come celebrate entrepreneurship with the Federation's most important financial institution on Friday, May 28 from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. at Bastyr Independence Square in St. Kitts, and 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Chapel Street, Charlestown, Nevis. That's at the Nevis branch. To find out how your business can be a part of this celebration free of cost, call 465-2288, extension 1322 for the St. Kitts branch, and 469-5416 for the Nevis branch. It's a BizFest fair in the Independence Square, a celebration of economic development in our federation.
Stop standing in long ATM lines to withdraw cash. Use your national debit or black cards to complete a wide variety of transactions at supermarkets, variety stores, gas stations, pharmacies, and more. Shop online at the most popular websites and stores for quality brands using your national debit or black cards. And take back your time to enjoy all the things that you love to do. Remember, instead of waiting in long ATM lines to withdraw cash, use your national bank cards today.
National Bank, always here.
All right, welcome back to our program. We're going to the phone lines in just a bit, but before we do, I have a question coming in from Bip.
Yes.
Yes, can you please put on your headphones?
Yes, go ahead, we hear you.
Indeed, sorry. I know you touched on this earlier in your opening remarks with Superintendent Francis, but I'm going to ask the question for the sake of this person, so at least you can answer it from their angle. How is it that events are cancelled? However, churches which have much larger gathering, some of these churches gathering from 300 to 600 weekly, and social events are not cancelled to minimize the spread. Why is events targeted but not larger gatherings such as churches? Churches are considered indoor venue and are allowed weekly to cater to way more, and even now, with the new case, the churches are not being asked to desist from having gathering. How is this justified?
Well, the gatherings are different. You see what happens at a party. There's no social distancing in a party. There is nobody wearing masks in a party. And it's difficult to enforce social distancing in a party because everybody standing where they want, everybody moving around, everybody knocking glass, and everybody's doing what they feel. In a church, you have people have assigned seating, and you can sit and maintain your physical distance in the church environment. You cannot maintain a physical distance at a party. And so the events, the environment is completely different. The risk is completely different for both activities. Much higher at a party than at church.
All right, let's go to the phone. Let's take our first call. All right, we lost that call. Let's try this one. Good morning, you're live.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, I got two concerns, man, actually. Number one, you talk about families can go to the beach. What about co-workers? You work in the same office, work in the same office. Can you go out together as a group at the beach? That's one. And have the name of the person in question has been released. I ask that because I think that can also help in tracing. Because you hear the name on the radio or so, and you could say, yeah, I was in the person there last week. So I was wondering have the person name released, and if you don't think that's a good reason to release the name, so that people could know whether they're being with that person or the people with that person, and that could help with the chasing. All right.
All right, thanks for your call.
Well, let me start with your last question. You got to understand, this is a medical issue. This is a medical condition that this person has. And there is some ethical guidelines that the medical profession has to follow. You cannot release the names of the patients and what happened to them. So it just cannot happen. The medical profession that is restricted can't release people's medical information to the public.
Without their consent?
Without their consent. And so that will not happen. We cannot release the person's name. We see people are posting picture, and we wish that really could stop. It's not nice. You would not want that for yourself. If you have an illness, you would not want the authorities going on radio and saying, Tom Jones have this. And then everybody now start to call Tom Jones and say, boy, you up. And we really don't wish for that. And so we ask persons to desist from circulating pictures and speculating as to who may be, because you might just circulate the wrong person's picture.
Maybe they
and you cause problem for that person. So really, it's not good. We will not release the name of the individual for ethical reasons, and so we hope persons with that. What was his next question?
I honestly, it sounded all like one thing for me, so I apologize to that caller. Yes.
You could call back, sir, if we didn't answer your good question. But I wanted to get that out, that we will not release the name of the individual for confidentiality and privacy reasons.
All right, let's go back to the phone line. Let's try this caller. Hi, good. Okay, let's try this one. Good morning.
Good morning. I want to find out if this law for Stinkis alone or Stinkis and Nevis.
Stinkis and Nevis, sir.
Federation, one federation.
Yeah, one federation, but sometimes you hear our Nevis station, you hear what kind of party they got, and and Stinkis people gone up to the party, so when they go up there and they bring back down the corona, the sickness and so on. Right?
Yes.
Right? So they're supposed to be able to tell the Nevis people the same thing, because a couple of times when they're saying think it's supposed to do this, Nevis up their party in. You know what I mean? Okay.
Well, that is unfortunate if it happens, and we hope that people will be responsible, and if a person is going to leave St. Kitts where they are protected and go to some place else where they think that they are less protected to engage in a risky behavior, I mean, it means that person do not take their own health serious. Mm-hmm. And we really would hope persons would do that. See it as you're protecting yourself when you avoid these type of activities, these type of events that promotes the spread of the virus. Mm-hmm. And just look at it as protecting yourself when you do not go.
All right. As it relates to the first caller that we had, the other question, thanks to one of our listeners, said that he asked about co-workers going out together.
Oh, yes. Right. Oh, yeah. As I said, the beach is not restricted totally. It is only restricted for parties and other social events, picnics and those type of things. So if a group of co-workers want to go to the beach for swimming, just for relaxation, that is fine.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's go back to the phone line. Let's try line 3. Good morning, you're live.
Hi, good morning.
Yes, morning.
I'm called to ask a question.
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yes, go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, my question what I'm asking is that will there be anything done towards community testing in terms of seeing that it's spread and nobody knows who has it? And then my next question is I don't know if they will say, but they said it's person to take public buses. Will they say which side the person took bus? If it's east or west side? Can I get that answer, please?
All right. Thank you for your thanks. Yes, go ahead.
All right. Well, really, the whole bus system run basically all over, and so we would advise persons who are using public transport generally on all sides to take the precautions and follow the protocols. We're all at risk, and so we should see it as that and protect yourself. See it as that if I go in that bus and I do not wear my mask, I'm putting myself at risk, at a higher risk. So ensure once you're traveling on a bus, we don't want people to feel like, oh, well, it's Monkey Hill, so we don't have to take any precaution if we go to Sandy Point. We really don't want to have that sort of thing. We want everybody to feel the same level of risk. It doesn't matter where you're going, whether you're going to Charlestown, or you're going to Sandy Point, or you're going to St. Peter's. Once you're on a public transportation, even if you're going on the ferry, we want you to take the protocol, follow the protocols that relates to public transportation. The owners, operators, they should sanitize the doors or the handles or the frequently touched areas frequently after every trip, preferably. And the passengers should wear their masks and sanitize their hands on entry.
I should mention about community testing.
Community testing, the public health officials, they would test those persons who they deem should be tested from their contact tracing. Everyone who they suspect as a possible contact, they will be tested. But we cannot go wholesale and test the whole country. And so the persons who are at high risk, who they determine to be at high risk, those persons will be tested.
That's why it's important to be honest.
That's why it's important to be honest. And of course, important also, they will be quarantined. So that is something that you really have to be prepared for. If you're identified as a contact, or the contact of a contact, then they would assess your risk and make a determination whether or not you should be quarantined. Again, we ask for your cooperation if this decision is made to have you quarantine, and cooperate.
And the thing is, from time to time, often on this show, with reference to buses in particular, we employ persons to wear their masks and stuff like that. And if for some reason you were wearing your mask and saying 6 feet when you can and sanitizing, that will minimize your possibility of being infected.
Right. So it doesn't mean because you're on a bus and somebody who's infected is on the bus, you're going to be infected as well. As long as you're following the protocols, chances are you'll be okay. So follow the protocols and your risk will be reduced, and you will not have to be as worried as you are if you're not wearing the your mask.
All right, let's go back to, well, we're not going to go to the phone line, we're going to go to BIP, and I have a voice note for you to listen to.
Good morning, officers, and good morning, GQ.
Good morning.
Whilst I agree that you shouldn't release the individual's name, it can help if you say the community where the individual is from. Secondly, in relation to the church, I know that some churches do observe the protocols, and there are some churches that do not, because I have seen, again, government officials attending church services. They are full to the capacity, and persons are not fully masked, or some are masked. So I guess that's why the person, did the pointed out the church issue. Another thing is, if you are in a bubble in church, and I ask this because my women's group at church, we are planning to go to the beach on Sunday. It's going to be about 14 of us. We are already in a bubble because we have meetings and we are in a bubble. So I'm asking, are you saying that we cannot go to the beach? I just need to get some clarity on that. And I have always been saying, I listened to the issue with the lady and the bus. Just I think maybe about 2 weeks ago, if GQ can recall, I asked a question about the bus, with the police, did they stop policing the bus? Because I have been seeing even bus drivers, they're not wearing their mask. The passengers in the buses, they're not wearing their mask. I mean, the COVID is there all the time. And I realized that the CMO yesterday stressed the fact that we should wear our masks, we should sanitize, we should social distance. That was not being said when persons were being told to, you have to get vaccinated because of this and because of that. Nothing was said that you still have to continue to wear your mask, you still have to continue to social distance, you still have to continue hand sanitizing. And some of these businesses, they are not making sure that persons maintain their 6 feet. I was on a bank line the other day and a gentleman was right behind me and I said, "Sir, you're supposed to be 6 feet away from me. See the markings are there?" And he was like, "Oh, we don't have any COVID." So we still have to sensitize persons to use your mask, sanitize your hands, keep your social distance. Whilst we are pushing, get vaccinated because of this, get vaccinated because of that, you need to push, keep on your mask, sanitize your hands, and keep your social distance. So I would listen to hear in relation to my issue where my women's group, we plan to go to the beach. We're already in a bubble if we still can go or we cannot go.
Okay, thank you. A bubble suggests that women's group do not come into contact with anyone else outside of the group. And I'm not certain if they stay in the church for 24/7. So after their church meeting, the group meeting would have ended, they would have gone home to their separate homes where they would interact with people who are outside that church bubble. They would have gone to work. And they would interact at work with people who are outside the church bubble. And then they go to church the following night, back in the bubble. And so all that they would have picked up at work, at home, at the strip, wherever they would have gone, they bring it back to the church bubble. So that bubble would be contaminated by now. So we got to be careful when we're using the term bubble. A bubble suggests that it is protected, and the persons who in that group share the same risk and are not exposed to any other risk. So unless that is the case where you are confined to the group at all times without any contact with anyone else outside the group, then you cannot consider yourself a bubble in the true sense of the term. That is why very early on, St. Kitts came out of the CARICOM bubble, because we recognize that some persons in these countries had different levels of risk, different levels of exposure to the virus. And so you cannot be in a bubble when you have different levels of people with different levels of exposure coming together. Everybody will be contaminated.
So she was asking if the group can go to the beach.
So we don't want you going to the beach thinking that you're safe and that you could congregate in a large 14 group. The law restricts the size of the groups to 8 persons, and it says it specifies family members. So if you're not a family group living in the same household, then you really cannot go as a group of 14 and congregate on the beach in a picnic atmosphere. You could go as individuals and maintain your social distance, and you could enjoy the swimming, you could play, you could exercise, that sort of thing on the beach. But you cannot go as a group of 14 and walk with your picnic basket or your table and tent and socialize in that way. Because
that's a no then.
That's a no. Because inevitably, other persons, maybe from other churches, gonna come and join your 14 member women's group. And I'm certain, being the kind-hearted church members that you are, you're not going to chase them away. You're going to entertain them. And you don't know what risk they have. And so you have a group of 14. Now expand to 20 and 28, and then you have a problem. So we really do not encourage groups other than families going to the beach and socializing as a group.
Carla, she also wanted to know about the community where the person was. She wanted to
that would have to be a decision by the Ministry of Health to disclose. And remember, it's a health situation, and so we would not, as law enforcement, want to disclose any information that the Ministry of Health or the CMO did not disclose. So that would have to be a decision made by the health authorities, and we would be guided by that. Churches,
police in the church and how can I put it? Establishments that are not following the protocols.
Right. Again, by the very nature of the church, we expect that the church will be obedient, an obedient group. Just like how we are obedient to God, God will want you to be obedient to the law and to the authorities. And so we set guidelines that governs the church, guidelines that were agreed upon, because these things were discussed with the church. We did not just put some things into law and impose it on the church. There were meetings with the church, the protocols were discussed, they were agreed upon, and the intention was, or the hope is, that the churches would police themselves. The church leaders would police themselves because they're well aware of the protocols. It was discussed extensively with the Christian Council and the Evangelical Association. And so we expect that the church leaders would police their church and ensure that they follow the protocols that are stipulated.
So you will not take the initiative to go and close down any church?
We will not do it that way. We would speak to the leaders and encourage them to use persuasion. We do not want the picture of police or compliance team going in a church on Sunday morning and stopping the church and arresting the pastor. We see pictures of that in Antigua very early in the pandemic. Take the pastor gets 6 months.
You're not following that path.
The pastor gets 6 months in prison. we really don't want to have that kind of image here. We want the churches to really...
We think our church members here
police themselves.
Are trying their best. And they just need to be reminded.
Real quick, gentlemen, I'm going to let you address the public transportation, police in the public transportation and the establishments. We're going to take a break and we'll be back. We're going to give you an extra 15 minutes, gentlemen. I know this is a touchy topic right now, a sensitive topic. People, they have their concern, and we're going to hopefully get as much as possible in for you to get your points across.
Thank you.
We'll be back right after this.
Stop standing in long ATM lines to withdraw cash. Use your national debit or black cards to complete a wide variety of transactions at supermarkets, variety stores, gas stations, pharmacies, and more. Shop online at the most popular websites and stores for quality brands using your national debit or black cards. And take back your time to enjoy all the things that you love to do. Remember, instead of waiting in long ATM lines to withdraw cash, use your national bank cards today.
National Bank, always here.
It's Domino's $30 Large Pizza Special, happening every day at 5 p.m. until closing. Save yourself $8.50 and take advantage of this fantastic deal and get a large pizza for only $30. However, this promotion is only available for 3 flavors: barbecue chicken, cheese, and pepperoni. So what are you waiting for? Come on in and get your large pizza for $30 today.
Hot and wild, call Domino's.
Offer available for carryout only.
At The Cable, we know being local means supporting our own, and our customers deserve the best. Our customers deserve platinum. So now, all customers of The Cable qualify for our new Platinum Loyalty Card. An elite MasterCard experience that lets you support your own like never before. Instantly send money to any Platinum Loyalty member at home or around the world. Shop online or in person anywhere MasterCard is accepted. Save with no interest and 0 annual fees. And the best part? If you're a Cable customer, you are already pre-approved. Just visit the Cable building in Bastere or sign up online at www.thecable.net. Get Get your Platinum loyalty card today because you deserve Platinum. Terms and conditions apply.
All right, welcome back. Let's go straight to the phone line and let's take this call. Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Hey,
And good morning to the board superintendent. How are you all doing?
Morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Not bad.
Okay, then. Isn't this we've been talking about complacency all along?
Yes, we have been.
Yeah, we've been saying it over and over, and I am of the opinion that all of us were guilty of being at that stage. Just Tuesday, I happened to catch a bus, and I was the only person had on my mask. But I wear my mask to the duration of the trip. And now that this thing has happened, you're hearing all kind of stories and all kind of talk. But we've been saying it over and over. It just happened recently to Anguilla. We are no different.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been saying it over, and even with the vaccine, you still have to do what you have to do in relation to, as much as possible, social distance, as much as possible to wear your mask, and wear your mask properly. Because the issue with the mask now, person are wearing the mask, it seems like they're going to put it on the waist. And I don't know, we have to be serious about the pandemic is still with us. But a lot of persons feel, when you go to this function, you left you to wonder, are we in the same world as everybody else? We just been taking this thing for granted. And person have to understand contact tracing is not easy to do. It's a difficult task because you have to start with the person and then the person and the person and the person. It's a so person have to be patient. And at the same time, person have to understand, even when you apply, it's a 50-50. There's no guarantee because just as this thing happened, things have to be changed. And we in the Federation, I have the opinion, we just feel like that we are better off, or we at that stage, we are not in the pandemic, so we just do any old thing, and when something happens now, we start to blame this and blame that. It's not about blaming, it's about doing the correct thing and being our brother's keeper and sister keeper. Because the reality is that the pandemic is still in the environment, is still in the world. The pandemic hasn't left the world. So we just have to understand these things and do what is necessary, especially when we go out in the public. When you're at home, you can lay down your guard to a certain extent because you're with your family. And even with the church, I heard some person are calling about the church. Most of the church, I can attest to the church that I attend, most of the church have the protocols in place. It's not maybe about, I cannot attest for all of the churches, but I can attest for the church, the Sunny Point Emmanuel Methodist Church. We haven't let down our guard. Even when they had function, the social distance was put in place, protocol was put in place. So there was no crowded of the church. So it's amazing now the person are targeting the church. And one time it was why the church were complaining why we cannot open our church. Now the church is opening and doing the correct thing. The flip side now, the party goers want why the church could have operation and they cannot have operation. But we are still in the panic. I'm going to let someone else get the opportunity. But gentlemen, thanks for every week coming and educating us on this pandemic. And person need to understand that we are no better. And just what can happen in other countries, it can happen to us. Have a good day, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Well, I would advise, if they can't go to party and church is keeping, go to church.
Yeah, go to church. Go to church, stay 6 feet away and put on your mask. And
Superintendent, you made me smile on that one.
But that's a good no.
Good morning, you're live. Yes, you're live. Go ahead.
Hello, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, with a program like this, you need to restrict some of these people just repeating themselves over and over. One, good morning.
Morning.
Now, the officer there, it seems as if St. Kitts is not proactive. We just get hyper for there and then we stop. 911 is not proactive. They are very negative when you call them. Take, for instance, people down by the mall, the Pelican Mall, or all those places that clean up. Most of them don't have on a mask. They're intimidating other people in the line. 90% of the people is very humble and just want the distance and don't want all these people laying particles in the face. And the constables, the police constables, They're just there together, not spread out, following the queue to make sure people stay distance. And I am afraid what's going to happen to St. Kitts. Only when we start dropping down like flies, people are going to understand protocol and what's supposed to happen. They are affecting all the businesses placed in Port Zante, in the Pelican Mall there. They're supposed to be in the sidewalk. They're up on top. Nobody have any problem with that. But they're not doing the distance. They don't have on the mask. And they're taking over the place with all this lot of rum and beer and whatever. Please, the police need to pay some attention. With these constables, instead of just standing up and just talking, they need to do what they're supposed to do. Thanks for listening.
Well, thank you for your call, too.
Thank you, ma'am.
Let's take another call. Good morning, you're live.
Morning, Jupio.
Morning.
Good program these officers have there.
Morning, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, people who are riding in bus, right? Young girls especially. Them bus seats, they're not clean. And I think they should wear something more cover up, longer. Because if they walk in, the thing done short already. And if you sit down, you get more shorter. So all on the bus seat, they will be taking it up on the skin. So they need to cover up some more. And then when this thing is over, then they could start to walk half naked. Okay, see you.
All right, let's go back to the phone line. All right, we lost that caller. All right, so here's a question from BIP. I have more than one. This person is asking, if someone is picked up or quarantined, who will bear the cost? And the second question is, how often are passenger buses are being checked for sanitizers and stuff that they should do as it relates to being COVID-19 compliant?
Read the second question again.
How often passenger buses, the public transportation, are checked for being COVID-19 compliant?
Well, being COVID-19 compliant for buses simply means that you have a regimen of hand sanitization. You have someone there to sanitize the passengers, or have hand sanitizers available for the passengers as they enter, and also that you sanitize the bus after each trip. So when you come to Bastille and you put off your passengers, you really should get out the bus and sanitize the doors, sanitize the seats, and the handles, that sort of thing. And wait for your next trip. And when you take your next trip to the country, you do the same thing. So at the end of each trip, you really should be sanitizing the highly touched surface of the vehicle, and have hand sanitizer available for persons as they enter, and ensure that persons wear the mask once they're in. So that is what is required of passenger buses. Additionally, I think the regulation also speaks to driving with the windows open. You should not have the windows closed to allow for the circulation of fresh air in the vehicle, because, as I say, you're in a cramped space and for lengthy periods.
The question is, how often do you check to see if they are compliant?
Well, I cannot give a time frame because it's random. We would do random checks. We do not have a fixed schedule for checking. It's random. Of course, now with what we are dealing with, we will have increased checks. The compliance team would be focusing on that more, and police officers during their road stops will be looking for
What I would add, Superintendent, is that at the bus terminals we have officers in uniform and different traffic wardens there checking periodically. But what happens often, as we discussed here before, is that everything will be good leaving the bus terminal, and then when they're on the route, people start to take off their masks and stuff like that. And that's the challenge we face.
Okay.
So we check.
So you are checking, but
we are checking, and as often as we can. But we need persons to police themselves, because it turns out that they're good around the police, but when the bus leave and stuff like that, people start to take off their masks and things of that nature.
I understand. Next question for you, gentlemen. As it relates to the individual who was identified as the person being or latest active person as it relates to COVID-19, they want to know if that person was vaccinated, seeing that they were working in a hotel and these areas should be vaccinated.
Yes, persons who are working in high-risk establishments hotels especially, because this is where most of our positive cases are. Once a person comes into the country, he has to be quarantined, and most persons quarantine at a hotel. Some quarantine at home, of course with conditions, but most at hotels. And so it means that these locations are high risk. And we would have thought that persons who are working in this environment would be the first to protect themselves against infection and become vaccinated. But unfortunately, that's not the case. And so persons are learning the hard way that they really should take certain precautions to protect themselves.
Okay. Let's go to the phone line. Good morning, you're live.
Good morning. A pleasant Tuesday morning to the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis and to the gentleman, the police officers who is there with you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
There's a saying that goes around, we all Kittitians. When you play with puppy, puppy lick your mouth. I am right now, with what's happening, is really upsetting. But what I have to say is this. The COVID-19 task force and all who was involved in putting and implementing rules and regulations, played around too long and too much with the Federation, the people of St. Kitts. Let's forget about Nevis. I am from St. Kitts. Played around too much with St. Kitts people. Oh, we're going to check the books to see exactly how we're going to find them, what we're going to find them on, or we're going to charge them. Put a law in place. You don't wear your mask, you're going to be penalized. And these are the fees you will be charged. Because we keep going back and pushing back the roof. We keep pushing back the border. We keep pushing back the border. And see where we are today? Somehow people don't understand what the word asymptomatic means. We don't have no active cases on the island. Does not mean that the coronavirus or the COVID-19 is not in St. Kitts. It's just that we don't have anybody active. And for the caller who said that instead of forcing people to take the vaccine and implement it, people must take the vaccine, we're supposed to count the laws. I don't understand how much more the Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Timothy Harris, Dr. Laws, Dr. Wilkerson, and even Mr. Williams must continue to put forth the information time after time again. Yes, you're going to take the vaccine, but even though you have the vaccine, you still have to wear your mask. You still have to do protocol distance, social distancing. You still have to use your hand sanitizers. Even though the vaccine came to the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, the information was put out there time after time again. Not because you're getting vaccinated does not mean that you let down your guards. You continue to apply the protocol. You continue to wear your mask. There are events and functions that is happening in St. Kitts where you see people are gathering, jamming back, and no mask is on. We play around with them too long. Rules are rules. This is what's going to happen. You're going to be mean what we say. If you don't abide by the rules, you don't abide by the protocols that's in place, we're going to fine you. Because today we have a situation where there's a case on the island and people are saying, she didn't go away. So how she get it? She was involved with nobody, but how she get it? The word asymptomatic people. That's what it is. That means that people could have it and not showing any kind of symptoms. You only know they are COVID. You only know they have the corona when they start showing symptoms. Come on, wake up. Let's start doing what we need to do. Let's start seeing how much people could be used and activate their common sense. This is no longer about people being selfish. This is plain outright not using your common senses. And on that note, have a wonderful day. Continue to stay safe and take care of you.
Thank you, ma'am. And to that caller who would have, to go back to that question, to speak about us promoting the vaccine and not promoting the other non-pharmaceutical measure with the same vigor. I would say to that caller, we had to do that because the vaccine is what would allow us to wean off the other measures. Once we get to the stage of herd immunity, where the majority of persons, the vast majority of persons are vaccinated, then there will be no need to follow strictly the other protocols of wearing masks and social distancing. We've seen in the US, the CDC guidelines has indicated that persons who are fully vaccinated can now go without masks, can now go without observing social and physical distancing. And that is what the vaccine does. And so that is why we were promoting, and we continue to promote the use of the vaccine, so that we would not have to strictly enforce the other non-pharmaceutical measures.
As it relates to person being picked up in quarantine, who's going to bear the cost?
Right now, we are not worried about costs. We are worried about public health. And so cost is something that will be considered later. We are concerned about public health. And if you are considered to be a person of a high risk and you're deemed to be required to be in quarantine, you will be placed in quarantine and you will not consider costs about who should pay, and you will just be placed where we could protect the public.
Looking at the bigger picture right now.
Right, looking at the bigger picture right now. So cost is not really a factor.
We're going to take 2 more calls and we're going to wrap it up. Good morning, you're live.
Yeah, hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Francis.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, sir.
Now, we would prioritize the taking of the vaccine to be the safest activity to carry out in order to keep our society firmly anchored with respect to health.
Yes.
But the problem we have is that we have some persons feel like they have an option. It's either that they take the vaccine or they subject themselves to bi-weekly testing. Now, we know that a lot of hours are being cut for many persons. So you go out to work, you did not take the vaccine, you promise that you will be tested every 2 weeks. But then one test is $100. That's $270. So monthly, that is $540. And many of them would find it challenging to sustain that expenditure. And as a result of that, they will just refuse to be tested. Even if they would like to, they don't have the means to pay for the test. And if the employers decide they're going to pay, they're going to deduct it out the wages. So we have created a slight problem in making people falsely believe that they can opt for being tested every 2 weeks. But it comes with an expense, and the expense cannot be maintained. So as a result of that, a different avenue would have to be pursued. And persons would just have to subject themselves, in a common sense way, according to the lady, to take the vaccine or incur the expense and then reduce the net disposable income. You know, we got to talk economics, we have to talk everything. It's like, okay to refuse to take the vaccine and say I'm going to take the test every 2 weeks. But it's $540 coming with that. $540 from whatever you're getting creates a situation where you have less disposable income. And maybe we have to start thinking about subsidizing the testing of persons. Maybe instead of $100, it can come down to 75, 60, 50, in order to allow more persons the flexibility from a pragmatic perspective to have the test being taken. Because that is what's preventing the problem. Would we incentivize or would we subsidize? The key thing right now is testing. Because like you said, some people got the symptoms and they would not show it. And that could happen and cause disaster for us. So we now have to go and address the testing issue. That is my contribution.
Thank you for your call.
Thank you very much.
Yes, and I understand and I agree with you. But really, testing as an option really doesn't make you any safer, because if you opt not to be vaccinated and to be tested every 2 weeks, and one of the 2 weeks when you go to be tested, you find that you're positive, maybe back to square one. You will be sick and you may die because you're not protected. So I don't think that testing is a real alternative to the vaccine, because you do not offer the same protection that the vaccine offers. The vaccine prevents you from becoming ill. The vaccine prevents you from dying. And having the vaccine, it reduces your risk of contracting. And if you contract, it reduces your ability to transmit. So there's several benefits to taking the vaccine. And I really don't see any benefit in being tested. In fact, there are more downsides to being tested, because you're losing disposable income that you could have otherwise used for something else, and you're still not guaranteed that you're not going to become infected. So really, your best option is to become vaccinated.
Now that we're on the vaccination point, I asked earlier, based on the question that someone asked, as it relates to the individual who is now our active case. It's known that she was or is working in the hotel industry. Was she vaccinated or not?
My information is no.
Okay.
I think he answered that earlier.
Yes.
I don't think it was clear. I don't think it was clear.
I understand.
I understood that, but
you want it to be clear.
Yes.
Okay. Understood.
Let's go back to the phone line. You're going to be our final caller for this morning. You're live.
Hello, good morning, GQ.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
The officers there.
Good morning.
It all depends on each one of us. The vaccine doesn't prevent you from getting the virus. It only helps to deal with it if you get it, that you won't get that sick. There are people who cannot get the vaccine. If you're pregnant, you can't get it. If you're nursing baby, you can't get it. Depends on what ailments you have, you cannot get it. So it all comes down to us to protect ourselves. Wear our mask, sanitize, do what you have to do. Everybody talking about, oh, they're stopping function. What about the churches? The churches are different because we are sitting, we take our temperature, we sanitize, we keep on our mask. We could sing with our mask on, but we can't drink and smoke with our mask on. So that's the big difference.
Right.
And they are closer knitted than us sitting in the bench. It all depends on each one of us to make our country better and to protect our brothers and our sisters. Because when I get in contact with you, we get in contact with so much people. We've got to trace. So to stop that from happening, wear your mask and sanitize. Thank you all. God bless you all.
Good advice, ma'am. Thank you.
That's it for us this morning. Gentlemen, your final words as we wrap up.
Yes, well, one thing just to add to what the lady would have said, that the vaccine doesn't prevent you from getting the virus. It only prevents you from becoming sick. That is what she said. But she's correct that it prevents you from becoming sick. But it also reduces your chance of getting the virus. It reduces your risk of contracting the virus by as much as 80%. And so it's better to have an 80% chance of not getting it than to have a 100% chance of getting it. So there is much more benefits to taking the vaccine than not to taking it. I think you're asking for a wrap.
Any closing remarks?
Yes. Well, as I said, the Ministry of Health is engaged in a very vigorous and comprehensive contact tracing exercise. We ask for the full cooperation of all persons who may be contacted by the ministry. Give full information, frank, honest, upfront, and if you are asked to be quarantined, we ask you to cooperate with that as well. That is also a public health measure that they do have the authority by law to do, and so we really do not want to have to get the law enforcement involved for having anybody forcibly go in quarantine. We really do not enjoy doing that. You put more people at risk. The more people you get involved, you put more people at risk. So really ask for full cooperation. It is in the interest of public health, and so we ask you to cooperate with the authorities.
Okay.
In closing also, we ask you to adhere to all the protocols. I mean, whether you're vaccinated or not, right now we not taking any chance. We ask everyone to wear your mask, sanitize, and maintain your physical and social distancing.
Okay, I want to thank the superintendent for coming here and taking his time out to enlighten us on the situation with reference to the last test, positive test that we have and measures that we need to put in place. GK, I want to thank you. I want to thank the listening audience for calling in and listening and being attentive. And I want everyone to have a safe weekend and a safe holiday. And GQ, see you when I see you.
See you when I see you. Stay tuned. I got some information for you as it relates to cost gap. That's coming up next.
When there'll be equal rights and justice for every man.
Looking for the best price on your third-party insurance? Well, look no more. The insurance company of the West Indies, ICWI, has the best protection at the best price with no deductible. What are you waiting for? Click, call 465-8753 or visit us at 1C Bird Rock Road or in Nevis number 22 Solomon Arcade, Main Street. Payment options available.